Walter Simmons sat on the weathered bench at the bus stop in Montgomery, his fingers traced over the frayed edges of his worn duffel bag. At 68 years old, he had seen and survived experiences that few could understand, carrying with him the memories of his time in Vietnam like a heavy cloak draped over his shoulders. Each day felt like an endless wait as he observed the world around him, yet he often felt like a ghost drifting among the living. The chilly autumn breeze tugged at his jacket, reminding him of how alone he felt despite being surrounded by people. He watched young mothers with their children, laughing as they shared stories and warm drinks. He saw businessmen rushing to meetings, their minds focused on tasks and deadlines, unaware of those who might need a kind word or a reassuring smile. Walter's heart ached as he realized that while life moved briskly around him, he stood still, his presence overlooked and forgotten. At times he would reflect on his past with pride, recalling comrades in arms and moments of bravery that filled him with strength. But too often, those memories weighed heavily on him. They haunted his dreams and mingled with the loneliness he felt during daylight hours. Just sitting at the bus stop became both a comfort and a burden. It was a familiar spot where he hoped for connection but mostly found solitude. On this particular chilly afternoon, Walter thought about leaving early. As he prepared to rise from the bench, ready to retreat into quietness again, something caught his attention. Nearby stood a woman with grace and presence, a figure known for her bravery in fighting for justice. The air seemed to shift as she approached, noticed him sitting there in silence. Little did Walter know that this unexpected moment would change everything. As Walter Simmons sat on the bench, his tired eyes fell on his worn duffel bag resting at his feet. This bag was not just a collection of tattered fabric, it was a heavy symbol of his past, a repository of memories, regrets, and stories that were often left untold. The faded colors and frayed seams mirrored the battles he had fought both in Vietnam and in life, reminders of the burdens he carried long after leaving the battlefield. Each scuff and scrape on the bag represented a moment in time, a chapter of his life filled with vivid images of friendships forged in combat, laughter shared around campfires, and the haunting echoes of loss. Whenever he looked at it, he felt a rush of emotions, pride for the courage he displayed to serve his country, but also sorrow for the comrades who didn't return home. It was as if the weight of their sacrifices weighed down on him each day, a heavy reminder that lingered whenever he sat alone. Walter's fingers brushed over the zipper as he thought about how this duffel bag had accompanied him through thick and thin. It had held not just clothes and supplies but remnants of his identity. When he opened it, he didn't just see items. He experienced flashes of laughter from shared moments with friends, earthy smells that took him back to a different time, and pieces of himself he was struggling to remember. Despite its burdensome contents, Walter carried this duffel bag with a sense of loyalty. It represented all the trials he had faced and survived. Yet, as ironic as it seemed, this very bag was a source of both comfort and pain. He often worried that, like him, the bag would be overlooked and forgotten, relegated to a corner as people hurried past. On that chilly afternoon, standing at the bus stop, Walter felt both anchored and adrift, anchored by memories yet adrift in a world that seemed to have moved on without him. Little did he know that soon, someone's gentle touch would illuminate the value hidden beneath those layers of emotional weight. The chilly afternoon air felt like a constant reminder of Walter's solitude as he sat at the bus stop, watching the world rush by. Leaves danced along the pavement, swept by the brisk wind that carried laughter and chatter from nearby families and groups of friends. Each gust nipped at his exposed skin, a stark contrast to the warmth of cherished memories trapped within the worn duffel bag beside him. As people hurried past, their faces painted with purpose and urgency, Walter felt increasingly invisible, like a forgotten statue in a busy park. Mothers pushed strollers laden with giggling children while teenagers buzzed around with their phones, immersed in their own conversations. To them, he was but a shadow, an old man sitting quietly on a bench, a figure lost in the chaos of life. He listened to snippets of laughter and joy around him, feeling that these moments only heightened his sense of isolation. The sound seemed to bounce off him without touching his heart. Besides the faint cracking of leaves underfoot and distant car horns sending muffled echoes through the street, Walter found himself enveloped in silence. It was as if he existed in a bubble, a barrier that kept him safe yet utterly alone. Walter's thoughts began to drift as the chills seeped deeper into his bones. He wondered how many others felt this way, an island among bustling crowds, holding on to their own stories while fading into the background. The bus stop had become both a waiting place and a stage for his inner battles, one where he found himself longing for connection yet fearing vulnerability. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eye, something shifted in the atmosphere. He noticed people beginning to slow down as they passed by him. Their glances lingered longer than usual. It was then that he felt a small spark of hope nestled within his heart, a flicker that maybe today might be different after all. Little did he know that kindness was about to break through his silent struggle in ways he never imagined possible. Just as Walter began to wonder if his fleeting hope was in vain, a familiar figure appeared at the bus stop. Rosa Parks, with her gentle smile and warm presence, seemed to radiate compassion as she approached. Clad in a simple coat that fluttered slightly in the cold breeze, she embodied strength and grace, qualities that had inspired many throughout her life. Walter's heart skipped a beat as he recognized her. He had admired Rosa Parks from afar, knowing her as a legend in the fight for justice. Yet, he never imagined she would cross paths with him on this frigid day. As she drew nearer, there was an aura about her that made him feel a slight shift in the air, a promise of understanding and connection. Stopping momentarily beside him, Rosa's eyes softened as she noticed the sorrow etched on Walter's face. Without hesitation, she gently placed her hand on his arm, creating a bridge between their two worlds. In that simple gesture, Walter felt a warmth that broke through the chill of the day and his solitude. The bustling noise around them faded to a soft hum as he locked eyes with her. It was as if time stood still just for that moment. "Your sacrifices matter, Walter," she said softly, her voice rich with empathy. "You are seen, and you are never alone." Her words washed over him like a balm, stirring deep emotions he had kept buried for too long. Tears welled in his eyes, not out of sadness but from profound relief. Someone recognized the weight he carried and understood its significance. Passers-by began to slow as they witnessed the powerful moment between these two souls interconnected by history and strength. The gentle interaction sparked a wave of awareness among those nearby, an awakening to the silent battles many face each day. As Walter absorbed Rosa's kindness, he felt a flicker of hope brightening the corners of his heavy heart. In this unexpected encounter, he sensed that perhaps today was indeed different, and that connection could still be found amid loneliness. As Rosa Parks gently placed her hand on Walter's arm, a wave of warmth flooded through him, melting away the icy solitude that had long since settled in his heart. The simple gesture, filled with compassion and recognition, felt like a lifeline thrown to a man adrift in a sea of loneliness. In that moment, the bustling world around them faded into a distant hum, leaving only the two of them connected by an unspoken understanding. "Your sacrifices matter, Walter," she said softly, her voice rich with empathy. Those words pierced through the veil of isolation that had surrounded him for so long. Walter felt as if the weight he had been carrying, his memories of service, loss, and sacrifice, was momentarily lifted. It was as if Rosa had reached into the depths of his heart and brought forth the emotions he had kept buried. Tears welled in his eyes, not from sadness but from a profound sense of relief and validation. For the first time in years, Walter felt seen. Around them, the atmosphere shifted as passers-by slowed their hurried steps, drawn to the poignant scene unfolding at the bus stop. Their glances lingered on the pair, sensing the powerful moment shared between two souls bound by strength and history. The recognition of Walter's service and struggles resonated with those who observed, igniting a spark of awareness about the silent battles many faced daily. Walter's heart swelled as he absorbed Rosa's words. They echoed in his mind, reminding him of his worth and the dignity of his service. The connection they shared transcended their individual experiences and became a moment of collective understanding, a reminder that even in a world that often feels indifferent, compassion could still thrive. In that brief encounter, Walter found a flicker of hope igniting within him. The warmth of Rosa's hand and her caring words reassured him that he was not alone in his struggles. As he wiped away a tear, he realized that perhaps today marked the beginning of healing. It was a reminder that kindness could break through barriers and illuminate even the darkest corners of one's heart. As Walter stood there, Rosa's words echoed in his mind, each syllable wrapping around him like a warm embrace. The tears that welled in his eyes were not just tears of sadness, they were tears of relief and recognition. For so long, he had felt like a ghost drifting through life, burdened by memories that seemed to weigh him down more than his duffel bag ever could. The simple act of being seen by someone as influential as Rosa Parks ignited emotions he thought had long been buried. He blinked rapidly, trying to regain composure as the warmth of her hand lingered on his arm. It was a small gesture, yet it felt monumental, a bridge connecting their lives across the quiet struggles they both understood too well. Walter's heart swelled with gratitude. It was as if she had peeled back the layers of isolation that had enveloped him for years. In that moment, he didn't just feel acknowledged, he felt valued and worthy. Around them, the world continued its busy pace, but Walter was lost in this newfound connection. Passers-by exchanged glances, sensing the power of this moment, two souls sharing an understanding that transcended time and circumstance. Walter's tears flowed freely now, each drop releasing a part of the sorrow he had carried for so long. He thought of his comrades who never made it home, their sacrifices weighing heavily on his heart. But here was Rosa, an unwavering reminder that those sacrifices mattered. With each heartbeat, he felt lighter, as if she were helping him shed layers of grief and loneliness. The kindness radiating from her was infectious. He could see it reflected in the faces of those who paused to witness this exchange. They were drawn into the warmth of the moment, and for Walter, it felt like a collective awakening, a reminder that compassion could still flourish amid indifference. As he wiped away his tears, Walter realized that this encounter marked a turning point in his life. He was no longer just a forgotten veteran at a bus stop. He was a man deserving of respect and love. This brief but impactful moment with Rosa Parks would stay with him for weeks to come, lifting his spirit and reminding him that even in darkness, light could break through. As the heartfelt exchange unfolded between Walter and Rosa, a few passers-by began to slow their hurried steps, drawn in by the palpable warmth radiating from the moment. They instinctively sensed that something significant was occurring, something that transcended the ordinary bustle of life at the bus stop. Faces turned, and eyes widened as curiosity mingled with understanding. Several people paused, exchanging knowing glances as they witnessed Rosa's compassionate gesture. It was not only a simple moment of kindness but a profound reminder of shared humanity. They could feel the heavy emotions washing over Walter, and for many, it sparked memories of their own struggles, experiences where they had felt unseen or unappreciated. Some individuals leaned closer, whispering softly to one another about the unexpected connection blossoming before them. Here stood a man who had fought for his country and a woman admired for her bravery in advocating for justice, joined together in an intimate exchange that illustrated strength amid struggle. The sight influenced them all, inviting reflection on their own lives and relationships. Among them was an older woman who had lost her husband to war. She felt tears prick at her own eyes. She remembered how lonely those early days had been after his passing, when the world continued to rush by without noticing her quiet grief. In witnessing this moment, she felt both sorrow for Walter's pain and gratitude for his service, one veteran recognizing another. A young man nearby, his phone in hand but momentarily forgotten, stood still as he absorbed the sincerity of the encounter. He'd always admired stories of bravery but had never fully grasped their impact until now. This brief pause challenged him to remember that bravery came not only on battlefields but also in moments like this, where vulnerability met compassion. The atmosphere shifted. There was a collective awakening to the silent battles many face daily. With every second that passed, Walter's spirit seemed to rise higher, illuminated by Rosa's words as well as the witness of those around him. In this shared space, amid strangers drawn together by empathy, hope began to spread like ripples in water, reminding everyone that kindness has the power to connect hearts and uplift souls amidst indifference and solitude. In the weeks that followed the encounter with Rosa Parks, Walter's spirit felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Each morning when he ventured to the bus stop, he carried not just his worn duffel bag but also the warmth of her words echoing in his mind. "Your sacrifices matter." Those simple yet profound statements became a mantra for him, a reminder that his service and struggles were seen and valued. Walter began to notice small changes in himself. He smiled more often at those who passed by, feeling a renewed sense of connection to the world around him. Where once he felt like an invisible silhouette, he now embraced each day with an open heart, ready to engage with life rather than retreat into solitude. The laughter of children playing nearby no longer seemed alien. Instead, it was a symphony of joy that resonated within him. He found himself reflecting on his time as a veteran, not just with sorrow but with pride. Memories of bravery and camaraderie emerged, colored by the acknowledgement he had received from Rosa. He started to share his stories with others at the bus stop, finding comfort in connecting with fellow veterans and even strangers. Each conversation nurtured a sense of dignity that had eluded him for so long. On quiet afternoons, he would sit at the same bench where their lives intertwined, feeling the warmth of community enveloping him. Walter realized that Rosa's gesture had sparked something larger than himself. It had ignited a conversation about respect and recognition that extended beyond individual experiences. He began to champion other veterans, acknowledging their sacrifices and encouraging them to share their stories too. As he stood in line for his bus one day, Walter caught sight of a young veteran who appeared lost in thought. Remembering how it felt to be overlooked, he approached him with a gentle smile. "Your sacrifices matter," he said softly. The young man looked up, surprise mingling with gratitude in his eyes. In that moment, Walter understood that compassion could create ripples of change, a legacy of dignity and respect that honored not just his own journey but also those of countless others. The encounter between Walter Simmons and Rosa Parks serves as a powerful reminder of how small gestures of kindness can heal emotional wounds and transform lives. In a moment that could have easily passed unnoticed, Rosa reached out to Walter in compassion, igniting hope in his heart and illuminating the profound impact of being seen and valued. Her simple words, "Your sacrifices matter," acted as a catalyst for change, not only for Walter but also for those who witnessed their exchange. For years, Walter had carried the weight of his memories alone, feeling invisible amidst the bustling life around him. However, after that chilly afternoon, he began to understand that even brief acts of recognition could spark an awakening within others. As Walter shared his own journey and encouraged fellow veterans to voice their experiences, he became a conduit for healing, showing that kindness reverberates far beyond its initial moment. The effect he had on those around him echoed the impact Rosa had on his life, a cycle of compassion that could uplift spirits and foster connections. In reflecting on his journey, Walter recognized that healing begins with acknowledgement and understanding. He learned that everyone has stories to tell and battles to fight. By offering a kind word or gesture, we can all contribute to each other's healing process. The compassion shared between him and Rosa blossomed into a broader message about the significance of empathy in the human experience. This story illustrates that while life can often feel overwhelming or isolating, stepping into another's world with kindness can create bridges where none existed before. In embracing this truth, Walter not only transformed his own perspective but also inspired others to witness and honor the sacrifices of those around them. Whether at a bus stop or elsewhere, moments of connection remind us of our shared humanity and illuminate the paths toward healing in an often indifferent world. In the end, it is through these essential acts of kindness that we can shine light into the darkest corners of life and nurture the dignity everyone deserves.